Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to Andrew's Life. I hope everyone's doing great today. Well, I have another cautionary video that deals with real estate. So, I'm pretty sure that most of you that have ever purchased a house before, you go through all the proper measures to purchase your home. You know, for those of you that purchase through a mortgage, you go through a bank, the bank approves you and all that good stuff. You have to fill out a crap ton of paperwork, and then come closing, you gotta sign and fill out a lot of much more paperwork. It's almost like you're writing a novel. Even if you purchase a property and you pay cash, still, you gotta fill out a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of verification that has to be done before you are the owner of that particular piece of property. So, most people would assume that once you get all that stuff done and you leave the closing table with keys in hand and all the paperwork you need to prove ownership of the property, you're good. You're good to go. Nothing to worry about over here. And I used to be one of those people that used to think like that. But unfortunately, it's not quite that simple. It is that simple, but it isn't that simple. And this video that I'm getting ready to show you is a video of a elderly woman in Houston, Texas, who she owns a home in the third ward, and she also owns a rental property, or at least she did own a rental property. But due to some shenanigans that happened to her by somebody that was very close to her, she is now getting ready to lose this property. So I'm going to play this video, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue to speak.
A 77-year-old grandmother is on the verge of being evicted from her third ward home after her own son forged the deed to her house and then shot himself. Fox 26's Randy Wallace reports from the elderly woman's home.
August 13th of last year was a day that would forever change Barbara Arnold's life. Her 53-year-old son, Jeremiah, or Jerry as he's called, had a disturbing confession.
If I stop, he said, I'm going to kill myself. And I asked him not to do that, and then he hung up the phone.
Jeremiah Arnold was being chased by the police after he robbed a bank. Before taking his own life, he urged his mother to check the deed on her house. Barbara Arnold would later learn her own son forged her name on the deed and sold her house to investors.
She never signed anything, and she couldn't understand how her house wasn't her house.
The simple fact of the matter is my client didn't sign the deeds that would have been required to give title to him to transfer to someone else.
And he was very rude.
It sounds like you're dealing with people that they don't care that you own this house outright and you've owned it for many years. Their attitude is, we got a deed.
Yes.
It's our house now, so tough for you. Right?
That's the way that and I said, mister, I don't know who you are. I've never seen you. I've never heard from you. And I said, and I did not sign any papers. I did not sell my house. This is Jeremiah's room.
Oh, this is Jerry's room, Jeremiah's room?
So
Yes, sir.
we have two properties. One is Miss Arnold's homestead. That was the first one of the fraudulent transactions, and another one was a property on which she was intending to fix up and lease out to provide her some income in her later years.
You have a spirit. You have a good spirit.
She's already spent 17 grand on an attorney.
Yes, already. And so she's needing help. I'm just praying that someone would see this, have the compassion of Jesus, and help her with the finances so that she can get to the win that she deserves.
Have you forgiven Jerry?
Yes, I have. And I wonder, well, why, because he tried to make things better for us. He always was that, even in school.
It sounds like Jerry's heart was in the right place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you'd like to help Barbara keep her house, there's a GoFundMe on my Facebook page. There's an email address on our website.
All right, folks, you heard everything right. Now, although in this particular situation, it was actually her own son that did her dirty like that, her own son that passed away, of course. Uh, I mean, one thing that I can't seem to help is, I mean, the trend that I notice is, I notice cities that are, I notice cities that have a large black population that are ran by Democrat politicians. I know that cities like Houston, Atlanta, and other cities that are ran by Democrats with a large black population. And one more thing, I also noticed that the majority of these cities appear to be in the southern region of the United States. I noticed how many of these cities, there seems to be a growing issue with title fraud. Now, I don't know if it's simply just the lax real estate laws they have when it comes to title property title transfers, or if it's just the fact that a lot of these cities, or if there's something deeper going on. Like when I say deeper, I'm talking racially. You guys can sound off in the comments and tell me what you think. Do you think these type of things are going on in many of your larger cities ran by Democrats with a sizable black population? Do you think it's going on because their real estate laws need an update? Or do you think this is going on because it's got something to do with race? Like maybe some people may suggest that the city is trying to legally take houses away from black people. Now, this country unfortunately does have a history of doing that. And some people may suggest that this could be the city's new way of doing exactly that. Tell me in the comments, what do y'all think? And although it's hard to avoid things like this from happening in certain type of cities, I mean, even in cities to where these type of things don't happen typically, like where I live in Alabama, I never heard of anything like this happening. However, I don't care where in the United States you live. If you own property, I don't care if you're paying a mortgage or if you own the property outright. I encourage you guys to get on the phone and call your local city hall, call your local, I think, tax assessor office, and make sure that there's no liens against your property. Make sure no one has snuck in and put a lien against your property because maybe they decided to take out a loan on something. Now, some of you might be asking, how do these things even happen? Well, one way that these kind of things happen is sometimes you got people that might be driving around and they might stop by your property, see your address. Obviously, they know the street name, and then they'll go to whoever they go to, and they'll be like, yeah, I own this property at blah, blah, blah location. And nobody bothers to do due diligence on the behalf of the actual homeowner to make sure that this person in front of them is telling the truth. I mean, I don't understand how that keeps happening time and time again. To me, it makes no sense. To me, it makes no sense. Now, anyways, but what I do is I call my local, I call the county at least once a month. And I ask them point blank, is there any liens on my property? And you know, if when I first did this, the person on the other end of the phone was confused of why I was doing this, and I explained to them, well, there's certain cities, and you know, there's certain cities that to where people become victims of property title fraud. I tried to explain it the best I can, and they acted like they didn't know what I was talking about. So, like, what I do is I call the county where I live once a month, and I just make sure that everything on with my house is on the up and up. And for those of you that are real estate investors, you need to call the county of every property that you own, and make sure that property is on the up and up. Make sure that nobody took any kind of a loan against your property, causing your property to have a lien on it. Make sure your tenants didn't do you dirty. In the case of this woman, make sure none of your family or nobody in your circle is doing you dirty. And that's the best way that I can make sure that those type of things, those type of things don't happen. But if something like that does happen, my attitude is if you call and you check at least once a month, you'll be able to detect what's going on, and then you'll have a lot more time to act accordingly and to do what you gotta do, you know, hire yourself representation and take the situation to court and do what you gotta do legally to get your property back. Because I have heard too many stories out here to where the homeowner is dumbfounded because they woke up, they got the letter in the mail, their house is being foreclosed on, and they're probably thinking, what the hell, you know, this has got to be the wrong address. This can't be true. You know, they're probably like this woman. She's thinking, okay, well, my house is paid off, so how they foreclosing on me? I don't owe anything. Well, clearly her own son did her dirty before he passed away. She didn't know anything about that. Obviously, now that her son is not with him anymore, whoever her son owes money to, now they're coming after her house. I mean, that's how that works. Now, what I don't understand is, why doesn't the city do more due diligence or require more due diligence to be done on the behalf of the actual homeowner? Like these companies that tell you, we'll give you X amount of money for a loan, and the customer of said business, they're like, yeah, I own a house. I mean, what I don't understand is, why isn't that particular business required to do due diligence to make sure that the that the customer that's in front of them, or the customer that's on the other side, that's on the other end of the phone call, actually is the owner of said house? Why don't they do their due diligence? That's something I don't understand. I mean, it's almost like you can just go in, you can say some stuff, and everybody's gonna believe you. I don't get it. I think it should become a federal law that before a person is allowed to use a property as collateral, there should be proof. There should be hard evidence that that person owns the property. And businesses, by law, should be required to do their due diligence. It should be a federal law, because there are way too many people losing their houses over these type of shenanigans. And like I said, I do find it a little ironic that I'm hearing stories like this mostly in cities that have a larger black population that's ran by Democrats. Now, I'm pretty sure this happens in northern cities too, but the majority of the stories I've been hearing have been stories out of Atlanta, places like Atlanta and Houston, and also some of your major cities in Florida. So I'm thinking there definitely needs to be an update on the real estate laws. And also, like I said, it should be a law federally that requires businesses to do their due diligence, to make sure that the person who they're dealing with actually owns the property that they claim to own. It's not that hard to do. It really ain't that hard to do, and I don't understand why it's not being done. All right, folks, that's all I got for this one. Stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. And remember, if you're a property owner, make sure you call the county at least once a month to make sure no one has taken a lien out against your property. Stay blessed.